Are all X-Men villains created equal? This video essay dives into the 10 lamest X-Men villains, from the laughable Unus the Untouchable to the forgettable Omega Red, proving that some baddies are more comical than criminal masterminds. Kicking off our list is a villain who's more laughable than intimidating, Unus the Untouchable. This guy can create a force field around himself, making him, well, untouchable. Sounds cool on paper, but in practice it's pretty lame. He first appeared way back in X-Men number 8, making him one of the X-Men's oldest foes. Unus has had some truly ridiculous moments, like when he teamed up with the Blob to fight the Hulk. Spoiler alert, it didn't go well for him. He even lost his powers for a while during the M-Day event when Scarlet Witch uttered those infamous words, "No more mutants." He eventually regained a version of his powers, but it ultimately proved fatal. His uncontrolled force field grew so powerful that he suffocated. Talk about a tragic and forgettable ending. Unus's power is inherently defensive, which makes him a pretty boring villain. He's not exactly known for his strategic mind or cunning plans. He's just a big, untouchable brute who gets defeated time and time again. Plus, his costume is pretty basic. He's basically just a big guy in a purple unitard. Next up is Mesmero, the master of mind control with a truly forgettable design. This guy looks like he wandered off the set of a low-budget sci-fi movie with his purple suit and weird headpiece. He's been around since the early days of the X-Men, but he's never really made a lasting impact. Mesmero's powers are pretty standard for an X-Men villain. He can control minds, but he's mostly used as a lackey for other more powerful villains like Magneto and Apocalypse. He even tried to go straight as a stage hypnotist, but even that didn't work out for him. Poor Mesmero, he just can't catch a break. Mesmero is a one-trick pony. His mind control powers are potentially interesting, but he lacks the personality or the motivation to make him a truly compelling villain. He's often overshadowed by the characters he's controlling, and his visual design is just plain bland. Coming in at number 8 is Donald Pierce, the cyborg mutant hater who's more annoying than threatening. This guy is basically a discount Bolivar Trask with a robotic arm and a serious grudge against mutants. He's been a member of the Hellfire Club, an exclusive society of wealthy and influential individuals with the sole intention of eliminating its mutant members. He even led his own team of cyborg mutant hunters called the Reavers. Despite his hatred for mutants, Pierce has never really posed a significant threat to the X-Men. He's been defeated countless times, and his plans are often convoluted and nonsensical. He even got his arm chopped off by Wolverine in the movie Logan. Ouch. Pierce is a generic villain with a tired motivation. His hatred for mutants is predictable and lacks any real depth. He's basically just a walking cliche of a bigoted human who fears and despises those who are different. These creepy crawlies are the stuff of nightmares, but not in a good way. The Brood are a race of insectoid aliens who reproduce by implanting their eggs in other beings. Yuck, they've been a thorn in the X-Men's side for years, but they're not exactly the most memorable villains. The Brood's biggest claim to fame is their appearance in the classic Brood Saga storyline, but even then they were overshadowed by the X-Men's struggle to overcome their parasitic influence. Plus, they just look kind of silly with their bug eyes and pointy teeth. The Brood are essentially just space bugs with a gross way of reproducing. They lack any real personality or motivation beyond their primal instincts. They're more of a force of nature than a group of compelling villains. This guy's the definition of a forgettable villain. Graydon Creed is the son of Sabretooth and Mystique, and he hates mutants with a passion. He founded the anti-mutant group Friends of Humanity and even ran for president on an anti-mutant platform. Creed's hatred for mutants stems from his own complicated family history. He was abandoned by his mutant parents and grew up resenting them for it, but his plans are often poorly thought out and he's easily defeated by the X-Men. He even gets killed by his own mother in one storyline. Creed is a whiny, hypocritical villain who's more pathetic than threatening. His hatred for mutants is rooted in his own personal issues, and he lacks the charisma or the intelligence to make him a truly compelling antagonist. This villain's name is pretty ironic, considering how uninspired he is. Mastermind is a mutant with the power to create illusions, but he's mostly known for manipulating Jean Grey into becoming the Dark Phoenix. Mastermind has been a member of several villainous groups, including the Brotherhood of Mutants and the Hellfire Club, but he's never really been a major player in the X-Men's world. He's more of a side character who pops up occasionally to cause some trouble. Mastermind's power is potentially interesting, but he's often relegated to the role of a manipulator or a supporting villain. He lacks the presence or the originality to stand out in the crowded field of X-Men villains. This guy is just plain creepy. Cameron Hodge was once a friend of Warren Worthington III, Angel, but he later became a cyborg mutant hater with a serious god complex. He even made a deal with a demon named Nashtar to become immortal. Hodge has done some truly horrific things, like killing Warlock and torturing the New Mutants. But he's not exactly the most memorable villain. He's more of a disturbing footnote in X-Men history. Hodge is a disturbing villain, but his motivations are often muddled, and his actions are more grotesque than compelling. He's a character who's defined by his hatred and his obsession with destroying mutants, which makes him a rather one-dimensional antagonist. This guy is basically a walking mood ring. Empath is a mutant who can sense and manipulate emotions, but he's mostly used as a pawn by other villains. He's been a member of the Hellions, a group of young mutants trained by Emma Frost to be villains, and even worked for the White Queen herself. Empath's powers are potentially interesting, but he's never really been developed into a compelling character. He's more of a plot device than a fully realized villain. Plus, his costume is just awful. Empath is a weak and underdeveloped villain with a forgettable power set. He lacks the agency or the personality to make him a truly memorable antagonist. He's often portrayed as a whiny and manipulative character who's easily controlled by others. No, not the devil from the TV show. This Lucifer is an alien conqueror who once tried to take over Earth. He's also a bitter enemy of Charles Xavier, but he's not exactly a household name. Lucifer's powers are pretty generic. He's super strong and can fly, but he's never really posed a serious threat to the X-Men. He's more of a footnote in their long and complicated history. Lucifer is a bland and uninspired villain with a generic power set and a forgettable design. He's basically just another alien conqueror who wants to rule the world, and he lacks the personality or the backstory to make him stand out from the crowd. This Soviet super soldier is the epitome of a forgettable X-Men villain. Omega Red has carbonadium tentacles that drain life energy, but he's mostly known for being defeated by Wolverine over and over again. Omega Red has been a member of various villainous groups, including the Soviet Super Soldiers and the Weapon X program, but he's never really been a major threat to the X-Men. He's more of a recurring punching bag for Wolverine. Omega Red is a one-dimensional villain with a limited power set and a ridiculous design. He's basically just a Russian stereotype with tentacles, and he lacks the depth or the complexity to make him a truly memorable antagonist. So while these villains might not be universe-shattering threats, the Marvel Universe does have its share of cosmic heavy hitters. If you're curious about the truly powerful beings that exist beyond the realm of mutant struggles, be sure to click the link on the end screen to check out my previous video where I explore the cosmic entities of the Marvel Universe. It's a journey from the ridiculous to the truly awe-inspiring, and you won't want to miss it.